Good evening and welcome to the regular twice monthly meeting for Westminster Mayor and Common Council. Please note that our meetings are open to the public here at City Hall. We'll also be available and streamed live on the city's YouTube channel, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by an hymn. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. And the courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other electronic devices you might have with you. We appreciate the courtesy. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website. I believe we have hard copies here in the room for those who are present with us tonight. I'd like to note that we have an updated agenda without objection. That's the one the council will be using. Before we go on, just note that we're pleased to see our state's attorney, Mr. Alan Culver, with us. Culver, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you. Good to see you as well. And also, we're especially pleased, not that we're not pleased to see you, Mr. Culver, but we're especially pleased that our new finance director is finally with us, Teresa Rogers. Ms. Rogers, thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to have you with us. Thank you. All right. And so we have one presentation to say, right? And that, Dr. Becker, we'll do. Madam Mayor, Dr. Becker.
So this is a proclamation for Stroke Smart Westminster. A few weeks ago, I attended a training sponsored by the Carroll Hospital Center in order to raise awareness about strokes. And one of the ways that this can be done, of course, is to have a proclamation for the city of Westminster. So Stroke Smart Westminster. Whereas 1 in 6 people will have a stroke in their lifetime and 80% of families are affected. Additionally, stroke is the leading cause of long-term disability, putting a tremendous financial burden on individuals, families, as well as society. And there are life-saving treatments that must be administered within 3 to 4.5 hours once symptoms begin. And only a very small percentage of patients go to the hospital within the treatment window because the majority of people do not know how to spot a stroke or the importance of calling 911 immediately. And the city of Westminster, public and private schools will be encouraged to make stroke smart, spot a stroke, stop a stroke, save a life, part of their training for all students, faculty, and families. And all the city of Westminster health and safety focused entities such as hospitals, clinics, physicians, medical practices, health departments, pharmacies, fire, EMS, public safety, social services, and the Department of Aging, and all city's employees will be urged to participate in improving the city of Westminster stroke literacy to educate all of its employees, volunteers, and associated communities. And the city of Westminster community, including businesses, civic organizations, senior communities, faith-based organizations, and inhabitants will be encouraged to participate and contribute to Stroke Smart, Spot a Stroke, Stop a Stroke, Save a Life campaign through active citizenship efforts. And the goal is to educate everyone in the city of Westminster about stroke recognition and the importance of dialing 911 immediately, and therefore reduce the onset of stroke to the 911 interval to be measured by EMS and local hospital systems, and be a model for other communities, cities, counties, commonwealths, and states, as well as the nation, thereby advancing the vision of a stroke smart America. In support of making the city of Westminster a stroke smart, I, Dr. Mona Becker, Mayor of the city of Westminster, in conjunction with the Common Council, do hereby proclaim Monday, August 22nd, 2022, that the city of Westminster will hereafter be a stroke smart city. Here you go. Here, hold on.
And she does.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Becker. And now, time for public hearings. Public hearings in the city of Westminster are led by the mayor, so I will pass the gavel to the mayor for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will now call this public hearing to order. Notice of this hearing was properly posted in accordance with the state law and city requirements, and I note that the time is 7:06. The hearing has been called for. This public hearing has been, okay, sorry, here we go. Public hearing, annexation resolution 22-03, annexation number 73, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property continuous and adjoining the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of the real property located at 404 Malcolm Drive, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-000-588, map 46, grid 009-0009, parcel 1187, and comprising 3.81 acres. If you would like to be heard on the matter and signed up to speak, I will call your name in order. We have no one signed up. Oh, that, you'll have your chance.
Okay.
Once we've gone through the list, there's no list. Mrs. Schaefer, if you'd like to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Kelly Schaefer Miller here tonight on behalf of the applicant. We appreciate the staff report. We agree with everything in the staff report. I have a representative from the property owner, Brian Eberly, here with me. I also have Marty Hackett from CLSI, who prepared the plat that accompanies the petition. We are here to answer any questions that you might have, but otherwise agree with the staff report and would request your approval for the annexation tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else like to be?
Brian will just introduce himself.
Good evening, everybody. Brian Eberly with the property owner, and just want to again thank you for the staff report and happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Thank you. If there's no one else that wishes to be heard, I declare this public hearing closed. Thank you. Right. Second public hearing, the start time. 7:09. This public hearing has been properly published in the Carroll County Times, meeting all state of Maryland requirements. Sorry. Procedural question. Okay, sorry. Right. Let me step back. These are still pretty new. All right, I now call this public hearing to order. Notice of this hearing was properly posted in accordance with the state law and city requirements, and I note that the time is 7:09. The hearing has been called for the purpose of inviting public comment on public hearing annexation resolution 2204, annexation number 74, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property continuous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of the real property located at 207 Greenwood Avenue, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, and 209 Greenwood Avenue, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-053843, map 107, grid 0004, parcel 1138, and comprising 21,359 square feet. I don't believe we have anyone signed up. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this matter?
John Bowers, Bureau Chief, Carroll County Department of Public Works, is here to affirm the resolution petition on behalf of Carroll County.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Dr. Becker.
Oh, yes, sorry. Mr.
That's
Cole.
okay. No, Alan Colbert, State's Attorney. I just wanted to thank the Mayor, Dr. Becker, and the council's attention. We've been here on a number of issues, and we certainly appreciate you all working with us and working with the county to see us get through with this building. It is something our office desperately needs. We're running out of space, so we certainly appreciate your time and attention and working with us on this. So thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard? Right, seeing no further speakers, I now declare this public hearing closed. I now call this public hearing to order. Notice of this hearing was properly posted in accordance with state law and city requirements, and I note that the time is 7:11 p.m. The hearing has been called for the purpose of public comment on Ordinance 942 and Ordinance amending Chapter 164 zoning and subdivision of land of the Code of the City of Westminster to amend Article 12, subsection D, 5A, to add microbreweries and pub breweries listed under Article 2B of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and to amend Article 20, special provisions to add Section 164-155.6 microbreweries and pub breweries to provide new standards for the grant of microbreweries and pub breweries in certain zones. Would anyone like to be heard on this matter? Seeing no speakers, I now declare this public hearing closed. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Becker. Move on now to the consent calendar. We have 3 items on the consent calendar this evening. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
There a motion by Mr. Bayhoff, is there a second?
Second.
Well, there's been a second by Mr. Kavaki. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. Consent calendar is approved. A report from the mayor, Dr. Becker.
Even though we met just last Monday, it's been a busy week. We were last Thursday on August 18th. I attended an evening with local authors at Rudolph Girls Books. They hosted 6 Carroll County authors to read excerpts from their books to a packed house of about 60 people. They were really excited. It was really well attended. After the readings, they had book signings in the lobby. It was a great way to showcase some of the local talent, and I was happy to see the event so well attended. On Saturday, August 21st, and this will probably come up a little later as well, myself, along with Council President Pecoraro and Council members Kevin Dayhoff and Ann Gilbert, welcomed almost 500 first-year students from McDaniel to Westminster. We missed Council members Hoff and Kavachi, both who had prior obligations. The weather couldn't have been more perfect. We met the students on the lawn of the library to welcome them. At the library, the students were given a bag which included information about downtown Westminster and a $10 voucher from the city for businesses downtown. The students had almost 2 hours to explore the area. And I just want to add that one of the items that really struck me from that morning was in prior years, the students would often disappear back up to campus after we were done at the library. But in that, on Saturday morning, they remained in town. The Boys and Girls Club had an open house, and they had a Dippin' Dots ice cream truck behind. Students were shopping with their vouchers at businesses up and down Main Street. I overheard students talking about what they had found to buy. They were buying items in Cultivated, Rudolph Girls. They were receiving discount cards from other businesses on Main Street. Julie Nova's was packed with students getting sandwiches. Magic was having raffles for Nintendo Switches. Genie Birds, Run More, Lux, all the businesses were moving on Main Street. So I want to say thank you, especially to Ms. Impulse and Mr. Depot, who I know were behind this $10 voucher. And while the city's initial investment in the vouchers was about $5,000, much more, I think, was returned to the local economy that day as students shopped and ate in town and hopefully felt really welcome in our city. I overheard them saying that they were walking out and they were saying, oh, I got these 2 tops in this bag for $40, right? And so they're using the $10 and then they're definitely adding money into Main Street on Saturday. So I hope that this sets up a welcoming feel for the students at McDaniel and they come back into town. So, and I want to say thank you, of course, to McDaniel College, who led the event, set up the speakers and walked the students from Bill to the city. And then just the last thing, this Sunday is one of my favorite events at the end of the summer. On Sunday evening, the 28th of August, the Westminster Municipal Band will hold its annual concert in historic Belgrove Square, starting at 6 p.m. If you've never been, it's really enjoyable. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Becker. Move on now to reports from standing committees. Begin with our liaison to the Arts Council, Mr. Dayhoff.
No report this meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to note that we have a meeting this Thursday at 3 p.m. at 45 West Main.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. I have no report from the Finance Committee, except to once again welcome our new Finance Director. Probably have lots to report now that we've got a new Finance Director. We'll get busy. Personnel Committee, Ms. Gill.
I just want to continue to make people aware of the numerous positions Westminster City has available. We have an amazing team of folks that you would join as another employee to that group. We have great benefits and terrific leadership. So please check out our website for full descriptions of all the jobs that are posted, and applications are also online. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Public Safety, Mr. Kavachi.
Public Works, sorry.
Let me start with Public Works.
I'm now bringing public safety, I'm sorry. Westminster Police detectives collaborated with partner law enforcement agencies to make an arrest related to Home Depot losses that have been occurring all up and down, all along the East Coast. They arrested Aaron Hoster. So, you know, this seems to be a recurring theme where we end up being involved or making arrests for these guys that are committing crime all over the region, and we end up catching them. So either our guys are amazing, which is actually the case, so they just get sloppy when they're here, but I'm betting on the former, not the latter. So once again, congratulations. I think this is the second or third time this year we've talked about something like this where you guys have busted up a theft ring or a bank robbery ring, as it was earlier in the year. Also, the police department has a quick response team. It's a grant-funded operation. It's been up and running for a couple of weeks, and they've had some significant success. Chief, I don't want to steal your thunder on this. I'm sure you're going to want to talk about it a little bit, so I'll let you go into details. But I actually had a chance during National Night Out to talk to one of the gentlemen that's involved in it and get a kind of a firsthand description of what they're doing. It is really amazing. I mean, we all talk about how drugs are such a problem and we've got to deal with them, but you're doing it. This organization through this grant is out there making a difference, getting people into rehab, giving them the resources that they need, and not necessarily just locking them up and putting them in jail, which sometimes is appropriate, but it really seems to be making a huge difference. And Chief, I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on it. And same thing with this next item, the Carroll County Drug Task Force, which our state's attorney certainly is heavily involved in, and we're appreciative of this, made a pretty significant drug arrest along with our police department and the sheriff's department of two individuals related to dealing crack cocaine. They found a pretty significant amount, 2 ounces, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of crack. And that's a significant amount. And one of the individuals was actually on I believe he was out on a federal parole or bond or something like that. I have it in here in my notes, but again, I know the chief will want to talk a little bit more about it. I know there was a press release, but fantastic work. And, it's wonderful to see the cooperation between state attorney's office, the sheriff, and our police department dealing with these, problematic issues that we have in a town the size of Westminster, like every town in America that deals with these things. So excellent work, and thank you very much. I know on behalf of the entire group up here, we're really grateful. That is it for public safety, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Move on to Public Works.
Report for Public Works. We had a crew that did some painting over at the Family Fitness Center. And they also built some new doors at the City Park bathroom. So we're grateful to that crew to get out there and do that. There are things that don't seem like a big deal, but they have to be done. Maintenance is important, and it's better that we've got our own folks that can do it versus having to pay contractors all the time to come out and do those things. So I know we're grateful for that. They also, Public Works also assisted with the Shop with the Cop and the event that Madam Mayor just spoke about, the McDaniel Freshman Welcome. They were involved in helping out with that. So thank you for the help there also, Public Works. That's it, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Recreation and Parks, Mr. Beha.
No report, Mr. President.
I thank you. I have nothing new from the Technology Committee. Now it's time for council comments and discussion. With the opportunity for council members to comment on anything that they wanted to bring up, whether it's on the agenda or not. We'll begin with Mr. Kavachi.
I have nothing, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Mr. Beha.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Beha. Ms. Gilbert.
I just wanted to welcome all the McDaniel College students. I know the mayor already has mentioned most of my comments, but I also want to extend it was a terrific event. I just want to send my thanks to the mayor, Ms. Impulse, and the staff at McDaniel College that helped organize that event.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Mr. Hahn.
No comments tonight.
All right, thank you. I just add my thanks for the terrific event with students on Saturday. It was a pleasure to be there. A lot of fun. They seem to be having fun. They were, the McDaniel staff and the library staff did a nice job planning the event there. And of course, our participation, I think, added, the staff put together, not what's right. Anyway, so the kids seem to have a lot of fun. That's great. I'm happy to be in Westminster. So that's all we have on that. Move on now to ordinances and resolutions. We have three before us tonight. The first is adoption of the annexation resolution 22-03, annexation number 73, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property contiguous and adjoining the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of a real property located at 404 Malcolm Drive, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-000588, map 46, grid 0009, parcel 1187, and comprising plus or minus 3.81 square feet. Director Vito.
Thank you. Main Street 3 LLC, here and after the petitioner, pursuant to the annotated code of Maryland Local Government Article Title 4, Subtitle 4, has petitioned the Mayor and Common Council to annex 404 Malcolm Drive, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, comprising of approximately 3.81 acres. Petitioner is requesting that the property be zoned B business zone and intends to raise the existing buildings on the property and construct a new 40,000 square feet, two-story medical office building. On April 11th, 2022, the Mayor and Common Council introduced Annexation Resolution 2203. The resolution was then forwarded to Carroll County Government and Maryland Department of Planning for its information and comment, and to the City Planning and Zoning Commission for its recommendation. Letters from Carroll County and Maryland Department of Planning are provided as attachments in the report, and in both cases, there was no opposition to the requested annexation. On June 9th, 2022, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Annexation 73 and recommended that the Mayor and Common Council approve the annexation. On July 30th and August 6th of 2022, a notice of public hearing regarding the hearing to be held by the Mayor and Common Council on August 22nd, 2022 for Annexation 73 appeared in Carroll County Times. These notices met the notification requirements set forth in the zoning ordinance, Annotated Code of Maryland, and the Maryland Open Meetings Act. Following the public hearing, the Mayor and Common Council may approve Annexation Resolution 2203. Annexation Resolution 2203 may not take effect until at least 45 days after its enactment. The Department of Community Planning and Development recommends that the Mayor and Common Council approve Annexation 43-4404 Malcolm Drive. And that completes my report.
Mr. President,
Ms. Inhofe.
for clarification, and frankly, for the city clerk in the future to assist him, the ordinance, the resolution actually says comprising, as Mr. Depot said, of 3.81 acres, whereas the agenda item says 3.81 square feet. So I just wanted to clarify before we get into the record that that's just a tiny housekeeping item. It's actually acres.
Yes, thank you. I was about to note that, you must have missed the agenda which I was reading from, because I was thinking, wow, okay, that's really amazing.
It's all building.
Very cool.
And I'm sorry if I could real quick. Also, as well, the annexation plan that's associated, that accompanies the resolution. All the elements of the annexation plan can be found in the staff report and the attachments provided there too.
All right, thank you. Let's get a motion on the table. We have a motion to adopt annexation resolution 22-03. A motion by Mr. Kavachi. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Deha.
And you meant as amended. 3.3.
Well,
I think it's just a
the
resolution.
resolution is correct, right?
Yeah. It's just the agenda.
I misspoke based on what I read.
Gotcha, okay.
Thanks. So we have a motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second from Mr. Deha. Is there any discussion or any questions that we're having? Mr. Kavachi?
Two quick things. Number one, I think this is a wonderful use of that property. It's been abandoned after the National Guard or Reserve, anybody in Reserve, or died there. It's quite frankly an eyesore. So we're grateful that you guys are coming in, and I'm sure it's gonna be a very nice building. And that you have the confidence that the somebody to generate the rents necessary, to be able to make a profit on it. Well on it here. So I just wanted to let you know, I'm grateful for those guys coming out here, coming to the city with it. Ton of choice on that one. I still want to say thank you. But we're real excited about it. It's a great use. It's exactly why, we fight so hard to have water, and that just quickly dovetails to my second point. This is why water is so critical. These things can't happen if the staff isn't doing their job, making sure that we have both the water and sewer capacity for a project like this. So I wanted to just take a quick moment and thank the staff as well, because this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for their efforts to allow this to happen. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Anyone else?
Mr. President, just to chime in agreement, with having a lot of planning and zoning experience over the years, this just makes complete sense. It's a no-brainer. With that said, unless somebody else has something, well, we already have a motion on the table.
We already have it. Which you couldn't have made anyway. Thank you. Anyone else? Right, well, this is, again, echo my colleagues, I think it's an important development. It certainly adds to what is becoming a significant medical campus, in that area, it fills in the gap that ought to be in the city. So we're pleased about that as well, and certainly going to create this important activity. So with that, if there's no further comments, I think we're ready for the vote. All those in favor of adoption of annexation resolution 22-03, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Welcome to the Westminster.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on now to the next item. Adoption of annexation resolution 22-04. Annexation number 74. Enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property contiguous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of the real property located at 207 Greenwood Avenue, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, and 209 Greenwood Avenue, Westminster, Maryland, 21157. Also identified as tax account number 07-053843, map 107, grid 0004, parcel 1138, and comprising plus or minus 21,359 square feet. That's square feet. Mr. Deacon.
Thank you. The Board of Carroll County Commissioners, here and after the petitioner pursuant to Annotated Code of Maryland, Local Government Article Title 4, Subtitle 4, has petitioned the Mayor and Common Council to annex a portion of 207 and 209 Greenwood Avenue, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, comprising of approximately 21,359 square feet. The petitioner is requesting that the property be zoned B business zone and intends to raise the existing buildings on the property to construct a new 43,000 square feet, three-story office building. On April 11, 2022, the Mayor and Common Council introduced Annexation Resolution 2022, which has since been revised to Annexation Resolution 22-04. There was no substantial change to the annexation resolution. This was simply a clerical revision to the resolution numbering. The resolution was then forwarded to Carroll County and Maryland Department of Planning for its comment and to the city's Planning and Zoning Commission for its recommendation. Letters from Carroll County and Maryland Department of Planning are provided as attachments, and in both cases, there was no opposition to the requested annexation. On June 9th, 2002, the City Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Annexation 74 and recommended that the Mayor and Common Council approve the annexation. On July 30th, 2022 and August 6th, 2022, a notice of public hearing regarding the hearing to be held by the Mayor and Common Council on August 22nd, 2022 for Annexation 74 appeared in the Carroll County Times. These notices met the notification requirements set forth in the zoning ordinance, Annotated Code of Maryland, and the Maryland Open Meetings Act. Following the public hearing, the Mayor and Common Council may approve the Annexation 2204. Annexation resolution may not take effect until at least 45 days after its enactment. And with that, the Department of Community Planning and Development recommends that the Mayor and Common Council approve Annexation 74 for 207 and 209 Greenwood Avenue. And that completes, and also, I'm sorry, as before, the staff report and attachments provide all the elements of the annexation plan submitted to the county and Maryland Department of Planning. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Depot. May I have a motion to adopt Annexation Resolution 22-004?
I'll make the motion.
In a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Hoff. Any comments?
Similar to what I said before, we're excited about this. That's a horrible looking piece of property ever since the Bears moved out of there in like the 60s. So it's wonderful to see that it's gonna look nice, and of course, it's very much needed by your department. So we're real happy about it. We're glad to have you bring that little back part into the city as well.
As always, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Kalachi. Anyone else? All right, well, just, unlike the other parcel, I'm sorry this won't be bringing any tax revenue with it. I'm sure the county commission is gonna make it up to us somehow, right?
We'll make people go out the door.
Well, we'll take, exactly, we'll take that.
Is that contract zoning? We can't do this.
All right, is there any further discussion? We'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adopting Annexation Resolution 22-04, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it, and the annexation resolution is adopted.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Impulse.
our city attorney wanted to bring something to your attention.
Yes, so in state law, section 4415 of the local government article addresses the annexation plan. And you've heard Mr. Depot refer to that a couple of times tonight. So in addition to, but not as part of the annexation resolution, the legislative body is required to adopt an annexation plan for the area to be annexed. The annexation plan is set forth in the staff report for each of the annexations that you just approved. So the annexation plan was sent to those to whom it was required to be sent under state law. But you're required, in my view, to take a separate action on the annexation plan since it's not supposed to be part of the resolution. Accordingly, I would request that the mayor and council adopt a motion approving the annexation plan for each of these annexations.
All right. May I have a motion to adopt the annexation plan that accompanies annexation resolution 23-03?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Kalachi. Any discussion? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have the ayes have it, and the annexation plan is adopted. May I have a motion to adopt the annexation plan that accompanies annexation resolution 22-04?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Huff and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those, is there any discussion? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes seem to have the ayes have it, and the annexation plan is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And perhaps next time we can just put that on the agenda and we'll have to check that.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next item on the agenda is adoption of ordinance number 942, an ordinance amending chapter 164, zoning and subdivision of land of the city of Westminster, to amend Article 12, subsection D, 5A, to add microbreweries and pub breweries licensed under Article 2B of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and to amend Article 20, special provisions, to add section 164-155.6, microbreweries and pub breweries, to provide new standards for the grant of microbreweries and pub breweries in certain zones. Director Depot.
Thank you. On April 11th, 2022, Ordinance 942 was introduced to the Mayor and Common Council. The Mayor and Common Council supported the ordinance as recommended by the Economic and Community Development Committee. The Mayor and Common Council subsequently referred Ordinance 942 to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review and recommendation to the Mayor and Common Council. On June 9, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Ordinance 942. The Planning and Zoning Commission made no revisions to the draft text and forwarded a recommendation to the Mayor and Common Council to approve the ordinance. However, following the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, staff discovered that the current and recommended use of microbreweries and pub breweries listed under Article 2B of the Annotated Code of Maryland is not accurate, as Article 2B of the Annotated Code of Maryland has been repealed and replaced with provisions in the alcoholic beverage article of the state code. Therefore, the draft text of Ordinance 942 has been amended, whereby the proposed use is microbreweries and pub breweries licensed under the alcoholic beverages article of the Annotated Code of Maryland. On July 30th and August 6, 2022, a notice of public hearing regarding the hearing to be held by the Mayor and Common Council on August 22nd, 2022, for Ordinance 942 appeared in the Carroll County Times. These notices met the notification requirements set forth in the zoning ordinance and the Maryland Open Meetings Act. As of the date of the staff report, the city has not received any public comments. Department of Community Planning and Development recommend Ordinance 942 provided in attachment 2 as amended of this report and as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 9th, 2022, be approved by the Mayor and Common Council. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. So before us is the ordinance with the staff amendment. So we will incorporate, without objection, we'll incorporate the staff amendment into the ordinance before us. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 942?
So
There's a motion by Mr. Gavachi and a second by Mr. Dayhoff. Any discussion? All right, and just to be clear, Mr. Depot, the staff amendment is more administrative, just to make it in concert with the current state laws.
Exactly. It's not substantive. It's just listing the accurate state code.
Hearing though, we had a lot of discussion about this when we did introduce it. I think everybody's comfortable with what direction we're moving. Move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of ordinance number 942, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Depot. Finally, we have adoption of resolution number 22-05, nationwide restatement. And for that, we'll turn to our resources director, Ms. McCall.
In your package, you have been provided with the proposed resolution 2205 regarding the nationwide 401A plan. Nationwide Financial Services, Inc., non-standardized governmental 401A pre-approved plan provides administration for the city's deferred compensation 401A matching plan. which was adopted in July 2003. The plan provides availability of matching contributions to eligible utilities. According to the nationwide 401 plan, the documents are updated every 6 years. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council adopt resolution 2205 that restates and ratifies the execution of the restated documents with Nationwide Financial Services, Inc. for the city's deferred compensation 401A matching plan. Attachments of the resolution 2205 attached.
Right, thank you, Mr. Cullen. I have a motion to adopt resolution 22-005.
So moved.
The motion by Mr. Dale, is there a second?
Second.
The second by Ms. Gilbert. Any discussion?
Mr. President, my only
Mr. Hawes.
question is, this is just, it's just a total restatement. Nothing else is changing within the document that was priorly approved.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Anyone else? Right, hearing no further discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution 22-05, nationwide restatement, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Thank you. There's no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business to remind the council of? If not, we'll move on to new business. We have 2 items of new business. The first is for the award of the contract of speakers on Main Street. And for that, we'll turn to Mr. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. The City of Westminster Street Department was scared with developing a plan to implicate a streetscape speaker system that would allow us to supply music and special announcements during special events in the holiday season. After doing our research, we found that the city of Sykesville was using a wireless speaker system in their downtown area. The system is unique wireless communication technology that can provide a speaker system that meets our needs. We had a virtual meeting with Mike Cooper, the owner and creator of Annexation LLC, which is the company that makes the system. Mike gave us a quote of $28,000 and a breakdown of the project so we could have an idea of what the plan for the fiscal year 23 budget. Unfortunately, due to health issues, Mike is no longer doing direct business with customers and is defaulting to his contracted distributors. All Pro Integrated Systems is representative for the Maryland Atlantic area. After an on-site meeting with All Pro, they provided us with a new quote and plan for the project. By using a distributor instead of dealing directly with the manufacturer, the cost increased to $69,516.48. This cost includes the hardware installation, programming, and 1-year service contract. This is a patent technology and can only be obtained from Annexation LLC or one of their distributors. The project will need to be sole sourced. Project funding, the fiscal year 2023 budget for this project is $30,000. As noted above, proposed contract has an associated cost of $69,516.48. The recommendation is the staff recommends that the mayor and common council authorize the sole source contract for the downtown speaker system to All Pro Integrated Systems in the amount of $69,516.48. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dick.
Mr. President,
Ms. Imhoff.
I'm sure there will be a quick question as to how in the world are we going to fund something that we didn't budget for? And just want to remind council that we need to have a budget amendment this fall for a variety of things that the council has already adopted that we just need to amend the budget for. So if this particular item is passed, we'll include that in a future budget amendment to be paid for by ARPA funds.
All right, thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Let's get a motion on the floor. We have a motion for the award of the contract.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Johnson, a second.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gilbert.
if we second, we have open for discussion. We're not.
Yeah, we have to get it on the floor.
I'll make a second.
Right, thank you. I said been moved by Mr. Dow and seconded by Ms. Gilbert. Now I'll move on to discussion. Who would like to be heard?
Mr. President.
Ms. Gilbert.
I'll be real, I guess, I hope real quick. Thank you, Ms. Imhoff, for reminding us that some of the funding will be coming from the ARPA funds. That made me feel a little bit better than seeing a $70,000 bill for speakers, even though I really want those speakers. So I have a question, since there was a little change, obviously, than what we were originally told. What's the possibility of going back and getting quotes? Because this is a huge difference. I understand there's a health issue, there's other things kind of going on here, but that's a big increase. I just can't see $70,000 for a speaker system, and I cannot imagine that there's not another company out there, given our technology today, that could provide us a similar speaker system for less money. Mr. Dick, could you help me understand, because I don't understand.
So that was my original thoughts as well when this first came to light. As I started to search along with the street department, we scoured the entire United States, and he has systems, hundreds of systems across the United States. Different distributors, different companies, but when you get down to what the device they're using, it's this Mike Cooper's device that we were talking about. He has patented the technology, so no matter how many speakers you add in either direction, there's no delay. They're all at the same time. If you ever been down to Sykesville and walk down the street, you don't hear a delay in between the speakers as you walk. It's all consistent. That's his technology, and it's wireless. He's literally the only person that we could find in about a 2.5, 3 month search that does a wireless technology, which is what we need. There's plenty of people that do wire technology, the construction of that alone, because we don't have conduits for the cables for the speakers. We'd have to put cable conduit all up and down Main Street underneath the sidewalk. The construction cost on that alone, I can't even imagine at this point. But believe it or not, it's hard to believe to me that he is the only wireless technology out there doing this. Once again, with his health issues, is what's caused this problem. I believe that, you know, the initial, when we talked to him, what he gave us, there was a lot involved there that we would have had to take on, where with this price, we're not responsible for anything in the first year. They're going to come and install it. There's maintenance agreement, technical support for the entire year. So there's a big difference between that and him selling us speakers and saying, here you go, and us putting them up and trying to maintain that, figure it out ourselves. That's the biggest in the cost difference. If I can give that answer.
Mr. President, can I have a couple follow-ups? So if we would go ahead and approve this, and it's an outdoor speaker system, what happens if Joe Schmo steals some of the speaker systems?
So they're going to be mounted on top of the light posts.
Okay, so they've got to literally climb the lake, which is probably going to be pretty difficult.
Yep.
Okay.
Same probably does. Our police are pretty alert that way.
I'm just asking, because if we're spending $70,000,
I
I don't want to see a bunch of people coming down at 2 a.m. stealing a bunch of systems.
I promise you won't find them in my backyard. Any other questions or comments on this?
Mr. President.
Mr.
Well,
Hockey.
no, go ahead. You go ahead.
I'll yield to Mr.
All right, Mr. Hockey.
So, you know what? I lost my train of thought, Mr. Kavachi. You go.
A couple of things I want to, well, questions and some comments. It seems to me like this agreement also includes an almost $5,000 a year reoccurring cost year over year. It looks like it includes a annual maintenance agreement and then an annual monitoring agreement, which total about, from my, it looks like it's $4,882.89. And that seems to me, the way that's written, that's going to be a year over year cost. Is that accurate?
That would be my understanding. Once again, that's if we would accept take that maintenance after the first year of us dealing with them and seeing what kind of problems we might have.
So the answer is yes. We're going to be a reoccurring cost of $5,000 every year after we spend the 7. So then my next question is, you made the comment that there aren't any other wireless technologies like this, and that there would be pretty significant expense if we had to run conduit. But if I'm not mistaken, aren't we opening Main Street completely up within the next year to replace water pipes, water mains?
Yes,
So I would tend to think that while we have the street open, it probably wouldn't be a tall order to run conduit with wires along Main Street. Now, we still have to get them up the sidewalk to the poles, but I would suspect that's a pretty light lift relative to opening up the street or the sidewalk to put conduit the whole length. Is that accurate?
Partially accurate. Water main runs down one side of the street, and we have speakers on the other side, so therefore we'd have to cross the streets, cut into those sidewalks to get into the light poles. But that definitely would be, some of the costs would be taken away.
And then once installed those wires, and I have a little bit of experience with this from way back in the day, but that wiring that could last 50 plus years if it's done right. And you can always re-pull wire once you put conduit in. And you could hang any kind of speakers you wanted, running from almost any kind of amplifier that you wanted. My guess would be significantly less expensive than this.
The only thing that I could add to that is this is literally going to be from Locust Lane to John Street. If we would ever want to expand that past that in the future, then we would, with the wireless, we just keep adding speakers. It's conduit.
That's a valid point. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Conchi. I will say that, so in addition to spending, my time, here in Westminster, occasionally we slip out of town, we go down to Sykesville because I grew up down there and I like Sykesville, and I did a nice job with the downtown there. And noticed some time ago, this pretty cool speaker system. And one of the things that we did notice as we walked the streets in Sykesville is, as Mr. Dick mentioned, there is a seamless quality to the music. And as you walk along, you don't hear, as you often do, when you try to sequence speakers, that are hooked up in other ways, there's sort of, a little bit of a differential between the sound coming out of one and the sound coming out of the other. And it makes a nicer experience, I have to say, as you walk along and you hear that. And I think if you were, I haven't heard it turned up very loud, for maybe perhaps a major event. I haven't been there for that, but I anticipate that if we did have a big event, like we have here in Westminster, where you wanted to give everybody the same message at the same time, rather than having that kind of weird echoing quality, everybody would hear the same thing at the same time, which I think would be beneficial. So, I understand there may be other ways to do this. If we want to do it wirelessly, and if we want to do it in this synchronized fashion, it seems to me that this is probably the best way to do it. It is certainly, more money than we'd anticipated, but in the scheme of things, it's not a huge amount of money. Certainly something that we can do. And if we choose not to make this decision tonight, I think it's important to recognize that if we send Mr. Dick back to the drawing board and try to figure something out, potentially even waiting until the street program is done, then we certainly won't have this Christmas season, or even in the next Christmas season. We'll be a couple of years off before we do have anything like this. So to me, spending the money now, and having the benefit of it over the next couple of years, seems to be an advantage that we ought to take very seriously. So, Dr. Becker.
So I would like to see speakers on Main Street, whether or not it happens now. There's a reason that people play music in malls and in shopping and in stores. People shop longer when there's music playing. So I Googled a couple, Google Scholar did a little bit of searching this afternoon on some websites from the Reference Center McDaniel, and had found a couple studies about music enhancing the shopping experience. People linger on sidewalks longer. They enjoy the shopping experience more, and it doesn't matter. It didn't seem to matter whether or not the music was familiar or the music was not familiar. I had breakfast with Mayor Link this morning. We didn't actually talk about this, but we did talk about this later this afternoon. And, you know, Mayor Link admitted that it was one of her favorite things about Main Street in Sykesville, and that the system was incredibly easy to use and to work with, and that she thought it really benefited the patrons that came onto Main Street. Let me see if I want to say one other thing. Mayor Link. You know, she said she found out that it made people linger a little bit more on Main Street when you may have just intended to run into one store, you end up running into multiple stores, she says, and then it gets a little bit late and then you want to stop and grab a meal. So I just wanted to sort of throw those comments out into the discussion for consideration as we talk about this.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hawk.
So a couple of questions, Mr. Dick. For the cost comparison that you were talking about, when you originally spoke to Mr. Mike Cooper, and had the quote of the 28,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like there was going to be additional expense related to that 28,000 that is included in the proposal. That, in other words, if I'm comparing apples to apples, because you said something about that Public Works would have had to do some things if they would have bought it directly from Mr. Cooper. Is that correct?
That is correct. When we originally talked to Mr. Cooper, later found out he didn't even come to town to do a site visit. He said, I imagine he used Google Maps to figure out the speaker layout. So on top of having the All-Pro, the more expensive one, they came out, determined that the numbers of speakers wasn't right. We needed I think 2 more than what he quoted. But then the original one, us doing all the work. He was literally going to pack it up, send it to us. And
so that's so what my point is, and that's what I thought is, you know, the equipment in All Pros proposal is $32,341. Now, admittedly, there's shipping and freight and sales tax on that. But you're saying under the other scenario that you all, Public Works, was going to be doing the installation. Is that not correct? So what my point is this is not really comparing apples to apples, because you were doing the work in-house, and in this case, you're not doing the work in-house.
that's correct.
And is the reason we're not doing the work in-house is because some of the specialized setup? Is that what the concern is? Or
That was the concern we had after talking to people at Sykesville. Once it's up and running, it's easy, but getting it set up, I'm not sure if they did total set up themselves, but it sounded like they were maybe not as easy as the guy made it sound. Once again, staffing issues, the amount of time that this would take for our staff to go down the street, set it up, and then our IT department to get it up and running, as long as there's no snafus there. I can't put a time on that. Something we've never done.
sure, but the point is that it certainly would have in opportunity costs or whatever, it certainly would have been more than 28,000. And that wasn't clear for me from the staff report, but to me, that's a very relevant fact, because I thought I'm comparing a $30,000 budget item, or which was $30,000 in the budget, but a $28,000 cost to a 69.5. In reality, that number is different. Now, I'm not going to put you on the spot and tell you, give me a opportunity cost of what it would have been for you all to do it. Then the other question I have is, this is patented technology. I did a little bit of searching myself. It sounds like this first came out in 2016. I have a couple concerns that, okay, this was 2016 technology, but you found no evidence anybody else was in the process of, well, he has a patent. So you just cannot get the technology, which your concern is about the echoing effect or the delay between speakers.
And the wireless part, like I said, go to his website, or even All Pros, there's many people installing it for him. So you can find wireless technology people doing this, but when it came down to it, they're using this product.
Gotcha.
Which is why we ended up with All Pro that want somebody here local.
So the additional question or concern I have is, this gentleman is supposedly not well, he passes away. Are we going to be able, the initial installation, again, you pointed out it only goes from Lucas Lane down to John Street. and we want to add to it, is those additional speakers gonna be available to purchase or not?
So the information given to us was that he is gonna be selling this, to one of his representatives to take over.
One of the distributors.
Yeah, one of the distributors. So whether that's All Pro or one of the other companies that go to him, I can't speak on that. But that was the direction that we were told that this was gonna go.
So we think so, but we're not 100% certain. And then my final question, which might be more so from this impulse, is we have had discussions with the merchants regarding this idea, because I know sometimes there's concerns about noise pollution, and we're in a downtown area, there's a lot of shops there, but sometimes you do have residents over top of a shop. Number one, do the majority of our downtown businesses really want this from a speaker system, on Main Street like that? And do we have any concerns about, like, if we do have some residents in the area, whether it's going to create disturbance to them, or how we're going to handle that from a timing standpoint? If you could comment a little bit about that.
Sure. This was at the time of the budget preparation, this particular item came from staff. It was driven from staff. So it didn't come from the Downtown Business Association necessarily. But it did come out of a desire to activate Main Street in a variety of new ways. And a desire to make Christmas as Norman Rockwell as we can get it, which was sort of my instruction. Norman Rockwell all the way, right? So this was an option that they came up with. We certainly pitched it to the Downtown Business Association. It was well received. And I have been trying to open eyes about other ways besides Christmas that this could in general be useful. Those lights will be up from the fall to the spring. So if you can imagine October to March, April. So when it's dark downtown, we'll have the lights up. We could be using the speakers at low times like January for a variety of maybe items we hadn't even thought about yet, of ways to activate some kind of Friday evening, some art in the whatever on Main Street, where we've got the music going and it's bringing people out of their houses that might otherwise just want to go cocoon at home. So I think it's been well received by the businesses. I wouldn't say that they've been, I don't want to misrepresent how this came about. They certainly didn't bring it to us. But the Downtown Business Association's been excited about it. We haven't pitched the cost to them. I don't know if that would make a difference to them or not. My concern, if we don't go this route and we go the hardwire route, I think this might be a decision that we might not be able to come back to. Certainly we won't have it in time for Christmas, but we're not so sure what's going to happen with this business moving forward, which I think was a concern you just alluded to. If we were to expand, so that's a decision I think that we need to make now, either to decide to do it or not to do it. And if we decide not to do it, we'll look at other options, hardwiring options, and see if there are ways to incorporate that into the Main Street project. I don't know if there will be. Certainly seems like a possibility, but there's going to be a lot of cuts in sidewalk that'll need to be made in order to get us to where we need to go, and that in the end may cost the same amount. I don't know anything about hardwiring speakers, so I can't speak to that option. So does that answer your question, Mr. Hall? Did I miss any of them?
No, I think that addresses it. It's just one of those situations where it's not a entirely easy answer. I think there's pros and cons either way.
There are.
Got to make a decision.
There certainly are. This is a bonus. This isn't necessary. It's something people have been excited about. Certainly there are logical ways that we can walk that back if the council decides that this is a price point that it's not willing to consider.
I will say the one thing that makes me feel better is that having this conversation tonight, comparing apples to apples, is a little bit different than what I initially thought the numbers were. And that difference gave me a lot of heartburn.
Yeah.
So
I will give council one final insight into how the sausage is made. Initially, the staff came back and said, we can't get these speakers. And I said, well, that's not really gonna be an option. We've already told everybody we're getting the speakers, so you're gonna have to figure this one out. And then they came back and said, hate to say no to you, boss, but it's still a no. And I said, well, if I have to send you on a plane to Georgia to get the yes, we're gonna have to get the yes somehow. So they have done a lot of work to get us to this place, and have done as much negotiating as possible. So while I don't love this number, I can tell you that this is the best number that we can find right now for this product.
Thank you, Ms. Halls. I'd just add that, I think if we purchase the system that we're discussing now, for the footprint that we're looking at, that, to me, that's what we want. I mean, something somebody else said, I don't know that we want to expand this, a lot farther, in the more residential parts of the city. I think, we want it to be in the core downtown, which is where we have our events, which is where our businesses are located, which is where we want to ask people to congregate during the holidays or other special events. I mean, I think we've got it right sized the way it is. So to me, I think that future expansion is it's less of an issue. Although I can't imagine that a patented technology that nobody else has, that obviously has significant economic value to whoever owns it. I can't imagine that the rights to continue to manufacture that are going to go away. Somebody's going to continue to use it one way or another. And if they do, and if we want to expand it, we'll, we or some future council can make that call. But to me, I think we've got it right the way it is.
Mr. President,
Mr. Dale.
review for me the funding.
So my understanding, so we budgeted some funds for this. We have
approximately
$30,000
in taxpayer money.
Yes.
And then we would fund the balance of it with ARPA.
That's certainly one way we could vote, should we choose to do that. Ms. Impulse will be bringing a budget amendment to the council sometime in the next few months, where she'll be outlining how we're going to pay for a couple of things that we've decided to do over, since the budget was adopted, that we've got to make adjustments on. And as part of that, we'll be able to make a decision as to which funding source we want to use.
So we were okay with funding approximately 30,000 because we felt that we could get return, we could leverage that into increased business and increase ambiance downtown. The balance of the money that we're discussing at this point in time, we would be leveraging federal money for the purposes of economic development. That's correct.
That's
now the speakers. Once we put the speakers up, do we put the speakers up and do we take the speakers down?
No, my understanding is they remain up.
So
they
we could
not
use
the
them.
top of light bulb.
Correct. So we could use them for Fall Fest. We could use them for our strolls. We could use them for other events.
I think that's what's anticipated.
Okay. Okay.
Ms. Gilbert.
I just, as everyone was chatting and I was listening, I was also Googling the company Aeronautics. And I also want to thank everyone for the clarification and conversation, because I came in here pretty much not going to be voting for the increase in the speakers, but Mr. Dick, thank you very much for clarification on a lot of the details of this, and Ms. Impulse, thank you for reminding me about our ARPA funds. So I've kind of changed my mind. The discussion has allowed a little more education, and also reading the website on the technology has also prompted me to change my opinion. So thank you all.
Mr. President,
Ms. Impulse.
to further clarify Mr. Dayhoff's question, Councilmember Dayhoff's question, the original budget included ARPA funds for this project. So we included 30,000 in ARPA funds for the speakers. Now we're proposing for the entirety of it to be with ARPA funds.
Mr. President, that's what I understood.
Thank you. Hey, what else, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Cannot
circle back. This $5,000 every year. do we know what that entails? It's listed as a monitoring fee of $2,000 and a maintenance fee of $3,000. So do we know what that entails? I mean, what is a monitoring fee that's gonna recur every year in the maintenance fee? Maintenance seems like it means they're gonna take care of the equipment, but does that mean if it breaks, they're gonna fix it each year, or is it only just for this first year? It says annual. Listen, annual maintenance and annual monitoring.
Right, so the maintenance would be, if we take this year to year, it's gonna be the 5,000. If something breaks, they fly from wherever, bring the parts in, they fix it. It's no work on our part for that.
They put it off, they go off and fix it, they bring it back.
They take care of total maintenance for that. The monitoring, whatever the 20 devices is, they will remote in from time to time into the system, and they will make sure, not sure if that includes 1 or 2 visits a year as well, in person, that they will make sure that the relay between them is still in sync and that everything's running as it should.
Mr. Kavachi, I mean, I'm looking at, I think, the same item you are. I see a night it says annual maintenance, single system 1 year.
$3,000.
Oh, yeah, slightly less than $3,000, and then annual monitoring per venue of 20 devices, slightly less than $2,000. It doesn't, I mean, unless there's something in the contract that I haven't seen, I don't see a commitment to us paying for that on a long-term basis. Is that the case, Mr. Dick? Are we committed to a long-term payment, or is it just this process for a year to do it?
Right, this is for that first year. This is included in the 69.5 pricing for the 1 year. After that, that would be up to us whether or not we wanted to continue that.
Well, given that it's a patented item and you can only buy them from one place, I don't think we want to gamble on just assuming. Yeah, I mean, if we could go get a speaker system from 20 different manufacturers, I'd say, no, we don't need a maintenance program, we'll buy a new speaker if it breaks. But I suspect a replacement speaker will be very expensive if there's only one place you can get that speaker. And if it's going to be sold by the current owner, chances are the new owner is going to expect a good return on his investment. So I suspect it'll be expensive if we don't pay that $5,000 a year. And it sounds like it's complex, and you're saying that Mr. Big said that we probably don't have the ability to maybe maintain and set this up easily without a lot of rigmarole. So I think we're going to be on the hook for $5,000 a year to keep this up and running. And we should go into it with our eyes open, knowing that's. I can assure you, we're going to sit here next year. This will be in the budget, and we're probably all going to agree it's a smart buy since we spent $70,000 putting the system in.
Mr. President.
Which I'll conclude with this: if it wasn't for ARPA funds, there's absolutely no way I'd vote for this. Just spending $70,000 on direct city taxpayer funds. So we had a lot of ARPA money, and the reality is we do have to spend it, and this is kind of what it's for. So I'm probably going to begrudgingly for it. I'm going to admit it.
Did you really need that?
I just wanted to-
You seem to have the votes to do this. The ones who want to take yes for an answer.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if Sarah wants it.
No. If there's no further comments.
Mr. President, I
There's
wanted to make sure we have fully answered Mr. Kavachi's question, and I think we will partially. Yes, this is only for a 1 year. It's only 1 year. Yes, we will likely have to do it next year. I want to make sure we've got this on record. This is how much it is this year. So next year it could be more for that. I certainly will do my best to negotiate us to this price, but if we have to come back next year with a $500 more annual maintenance fee, I just want to make sure that.
I'll bring that up.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
Well, let's just hope it doesn't go the way of secure. What was that insurance? The cyber insurance. Let's just hope it doesn't go that route, where it goes up 1,000 fold.
The route where we thought we were going to pay one thing, we ended up paying nothing. I'll take that route.
That route was good.
All right, I think it sounds to me like we've come to meeting of the minds here. Is there, unless there's anything anybody wants to add, move on to a vote. All those in favor of award of the contract for speakers on Main Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Yeah, I seem to have it, the ayes have it. Mr. Barber, please, record me as voting. And my colleagues don't feel like I'm letting them on. Some of them on this. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, we're good with that. Move on now to this next item of new business. Keller Brothers Incorporated change orders, Westminster Municipal Pool renovation. Ms. Imhoff.
Thank you, sir. It is my distinct pleasure to bring to you change orders for the Westminster Municipal Pool renovation project. Keller Brothers Incorporated is the general contractor for the Westminster Municipal Pool renovation project. As the design build process evolves, two proposed change orders are being presented as necessary additions to adequately complete the project and produce the best results. A description of each change order and the corresponding cost for the included item is provided below. It is important to note that the total cost of the proposed change orders will be offset by a credit for the deleted item that was initially included in the scope of work and a recent Community Parks and Playground Grant award, resulting in no request for additional funding from the city. Proposed change order 1, which is WMP 001, this change order directly relates to phase 1, base bid work, and includes the removal and replacement of the pool complex perimeter fence, the provision of an upgraded water slide, and the deletion of a pedestrian canopy for the total sum of $72,527.04. Proposed change order number 1 for WMP ALTS, which stands for alternate 001. This change order directly relates to phase 2, add alternate 1 and add alternate 2, and includes the addition of 3 unique spray features, which is very exciting, that will be located in the lagoon adjacent to the splash. Addition of these features will cost $37,540.69, and they include an aqua shark, surf surfboard, and a shark fin. Both change orders will result in an increased total cost of $110,068.53 and will not alter the contract time for completion for phase 1 or phase 2. As mentioned above, the total cost of these change orders will be offset by the city's fiscal year 22 Community Parks and Playground Inclusive Spray Ground Enhancement Grant Award in the amount of $113,000. These items, let me just add this, these items, which includes the fence and the new spray features, exciting spray features, were always included, envisioned in the project itself, but there wasn't enough funds. There weren't enough funds to cover those. So we cut those items out. And Ms. Gruber, our Recreational Parks Director, submitted a grant, and we did not receive that grant until after we approved the pool project. So now that we have the grant, we have the opportunity to add in a couple of new items. The fence is old and not entirely secure, and we just hate the idea of putting in all these new items and not having a secure new fence to go around it. And then the splash park, which is cool as it is, with features that come straight up out of the ground, kind of like a sprinkler system, will be just enhanced even more with these cool aqua shark, the surf surfboards, and the shark fin, which are big features that are stand out of the ground. They'll have water spouting out of it. The kids are gonna love it. The grandkids are gonna love it. Staff recommends that the city operates Keller Brothers perform the work identified above for the approval and execution of WMP change order number 1 and WMP alts change order number 1. That concludes the staff report, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Let's go motion first. Motion to approve the change order.
Second.
May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Dayhoff, and second by Ms. Gilbert. All right, Dr. Becker.
So I'm very excited about the splash pad features. And I just want to reiterate that this is not an additional cost to the city at all, correct?
Correct. The additional cost is being made up by the deletion of a giant sail shade, we're taking that out, and by the grant itself. So those items.
What was there
Net
a
zero.
reason behind the change in the design of taking out the sail shade and adding these in, or was that just?
Well, the sail shade is generally used in a park setting where parents are going to be in a wide open space, kids are going to be in a wide open space, and we're worried about sun. Since we're adding these extra water elements, there's less of a concern about just direct sunlight while you're out there in extreme heat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had something else, I forgot it, I'm sorry. I'm good, if I remember, I'll bring it up, thank you, Ms. Moss.
Ms. Gilbert.
So I have to say, on the outside, the pictures were adorable. I almost want to call this place the Aqua Shark, Westminster's Aqua Shark Park, because of the little cute little sprinkler, but that to the side, you mentioned that the sail shade is gonna be taken away, which I did not realize. I kind of, I mean, not that I want to spend any more money, but I know with preschoolers, little kiddos, grandchildren, and small kids, parents like shade. Is there still going to be that little shady area? You know, sunscreening, all that kind of stuff when you have little guys?
I don't think so. I think that's been removed in order to present to the council a zero cost option.
So I would like to ask if Ms. Gruber at some point in time could let us know what that cost would be. I know it would be an additional cost and we're already spending a ton of money as it is, but maybe there's another grant out there from some sunscreen company or something that might be able to help pay for it.
The pedestrian canopy is $15,620. That's what we're deleting out in order to help balance the budget on these changes.
All right.
Mr. Hall. Ms. Imholz, just to clarify the history of all this. You said some of these items were originally included and they were deleted.
Yes.
And then staff took it upon themselves that was the motivation to go out. Because I remember the 113,000, because that was very staff driven, particularly as opposed to, you know, the Wakefield Valley and Clock Tower that was kind of more collaborative between staff and council. The 113 was very staff driven. So you're telling me that staff went out there specifically to get that money, hoping to be able to add some of these features back in. Is that correct?
Not entirely. So
Okay.
the pool project had not been adopted by council when staff went to secure this grant. So this was a way to attempt to try to get some version of the splash pad funded to bring to council in case council decided that they weren't going to fund it. As it turns out, council decided to use ARPA funds to fund the project so we could get started. And then after we did that, then the grant was awarded to us sometime later after we started the project.
Because when we did the budget, we were not counting on that $113,000 coming in. So therefore it was never allocated. So what your point is, that's how we're now allocating it to this expense.
Yes.
Right now, but in theory, we could use that 113,000 towards other features that are related to the splash pad. In theory, I would suppose.
In theory, we could. It would cost us to go back and redesign the project to use the funds in a different way.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So staff's not recommending that option.
I understand that.
But in theory, that's
Yeah.
could happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Becker.
Remember, the changes will not affect the completion when the work will be done, correct? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, discussion?
Mr. President, I'll just have one final comment. Irregardless of, you know, the debate about how those grant funds are to be used, do I think the splash pad elements, the additional splash pad elements are great? Yes, they look awesome. And as to the fence, I agree with you in theory, if you're doing all this other work and we're gonna leave up the old fence, probably could look a lot better to replace the fence at the same time. You know, my main concern was just that we have some further discussion about it. So that's it, Mr. President.
Right, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I think we're ready for the vote. All those in favor of approving the change order for the Westminster Municipal Pool renovations, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. And the change orders are approved. Thank you. And that concludes our new business. And move on now to the departmental reports. I'm sorry, this is going to pay off. Do you have something?
Is there any merit to the discussion that Council Gilbert brought up about the sail shade? Could we ask staff to look into that? Is that something that there might be some grant funding, or could we redirect some ARPA funding?
Well, I think she did ask for that. I think it's from Ms. Imholz.
I'd like to reinforce that.
Ms. Imholz always writes down these things. I've noticed. Somehow they wind up coming back in some form or another.
Yeah, because I think that's a worthy consideration. I see that the lease is $15,620, and this is a multi-million-dollar project. I think that the discussion points that Ms. Gilbert brought up are valid there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So now we'll move on to departmental report. Ms. Imholz.
Thank you, sir. Boy, do we have a lot of exciting things to talk about today. I want to start off like a comedian says. I want to start off with a very sincere thank you to our city clerk. You may notice that we've had quite a few agendas going out, including a last minute amendment. I promise you that would not have happened on time if we did not have the city clerk here to do that. And probably wouldn't have happened correctly. So Mr. City Clerk, thank you so much for all that you do to keep the trains running on time and these meetings accurate and so that we're recording accurately all these important things. I want to echo the mayor's comments. Westminster Welcome was so spectacular. I tried for hours to get into Genie Birds on Saturday morning and failed miserably because it was at capacity. I was there at 8:30, at 9, at 9:30, at 10. At like 12:45, ended up having to go to the farmer's market to get Genie Birds because Genie Birds was too packed, which is wonderful. I mean, just it's so wonderful. And the McDaniel students were so lovely and kind and said thank you and were excited to be downtown and having fun with there was some sort of game that they were playing that McDaniel had teed up for them. They popped into each of these stores. They got some sort of swag for it. So it was really spectacular. I'd like to take a moment to thank one of our planners, Andrea Gerhard, who had to last minute kind of got thrown into this process to help prepare for it. She did a spectacular job on that. And then I'd also like to thank the finance team. It's no small task to reimburse businesses for vouchers that the city funded. There's a lot of technicalities about how we get that done. And the finance team was able to mobilize quickly. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our new finance director, Teresa Rogers. That's Teresa with an H, Rogers with a D. She started last week and we just have thrown her into the mix and so excited to have her. So Ms. Rogers, you're up.
Thank you, Ms. Imholz, Mayor Becker, President, and council members. I am really, truly thankful and grateful to be here. I thank you for this opportunity to serve as Director of Finance for the City of Westminster. This is in my backyard, if you will. I've lived here many years, so I'm honored to be able to serve in this capacity in what I consider my hometown. I have been here, as Ms. Imholz mentioned, about a week, and I want to thank the staff, both in finance and the other departments as well, for sort of helping me navigate this first week. A lot of housekeeping, lots of questions. I know I'll have many more. I thank you for your patience, and I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive into the city finances so I can serve well. So thank you.
See no questions for the finance director. We have no recreation report, but let me know if you have any questions about recreation. And we will move on to public works report. I'm happy to say that the membranes that we ordered at the water department some 11 months ago have finally arrived. So that's exciting. It's like Christmas morning over there. We're in the middle of quite a few projects, including our ENR project in the sewer department. All of those are moving along. And Mr. Dick, you ready to give us a report?
I got a few things on the street department side. A little busy just in the past week since the last report. We built 2 catch basins out on Road that had loose berks and headers in pretty bad shape, so they got those rebuilt in the past week. Filled in a bunch of potholes on South Court Street, trying to take care of some complaints down there. And I think it was last Thursday, I believe if you were out in the middle of the night, you would have came across them doing a crosswalk at Main Street between Court and Center Street. Got that done with the brick pattern. On the utility side there, in the process, it's just about done finishing up with replacing valves and a meter at the Westminster High School. That's all really happening.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to the Human Resources Department, Ms. McCullough.
Good evening. The Human Resources Department, we continue to recruit across all departments. We have positions available across all our departments. So to apply, please go to the city's website. That completes my report.
Thank you. Very exciting. We're looking for an IT director. So if anyone knows one, if anyone's looking for one, get those applications in right away, as Ms. Gilbert indicated. Let's move on to housing. Mr. Brown?
Good evening, everyone. I have just a few things I wanted to make the mayor and council and others aware of. The first is that as of today, we have issued 683 rental housing licenses. We've also inspected for housing quality during the month of July. We did 44 housing quality inspections. There are currently 841 people on our housing choice voucher waiting list. And in terms of code enforcement, we have received online complaints as well as phone call complaints on a number of items, but they have been predominantly for grass and weeds, trash and debris, and operable vehicles, and then finance sends us a water shut-off list. So, and that's concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions that the mayor and council may have.
Mr. President, I have a question. Mr. Brown, for the vehicles, it's just curiosity on my part. I don't have a specific case that I'm thinking of. If someone has a vehicle in their yard or on their property, I know it has to be tagged if it's on the street. Does it have to be tagged if it's on their property, or if it's not registered, tagged, is it then considered?
I'll defer to Chief from that.
It's not a motor vehicle violation when it's on private property.
Well, no, I know that.
But it could be a code violation.
That's what I'm asking, if it's a code violation.
It could be a code violation.
Where it's rental properties, you can't have unregistered vehicles on the property.
Right.
Untagged.
Or
even if they're tagged, if it's expired.
Yeah, there's a provision in the code that addresses that.
So theoretically, you could give someone a code violation if they had a vehicle that did not have a code registration on their property.
Yes, I can, and yes, I have.
Okay. And that I assume is for residential properties, not necessarily like an auto repair shop or something.
It doesn't affect auto repair shops. So if you got an auto repair shop and you got a vehicle there that you might be working on, then that's not a part of it.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Mr. President.
Mr. Hawk.
Mr. Brown, I was just curious. You said there were 680 licenses issued so far.
Sure.
Do you remember how many we issued last year?
Last year it was in the neighborhood of 700. I want to say 711.
So we're close to being.
We're close to that. The majority of the people have come in and some of them straddle in, and then some of them. I noticed that there are a number of them in the process of changing ownership. So we'll addressing that as well. But there are a few stragglers, usually September, October is when the stragglers come back again and start, oh, I forgot, and then want to pay. And of course, there's a step fee for paying after July 31st.
Thank you, sir.
It has been extraordinarily busy in the housing department, so thank you, sir, for all your hard work. We're gonna move on to the planning department. We've heard quite a bit from planning today, but I'm sure you may have just a couple of things for council.
On August 2nd, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved case 22-9, a variance to allow residential above-ground pool to extend 3 feet into the 8 feet lot line setback at 313 Inverness Close. On August 3rd, the Historic District Commission approved the post-construction application for historic rehabilitation property tax credits TC 22-1 in the amount of $2,895 for 229 East Main Street. You've probably seen work being done in that structure. The Charles Lutheran Village zoning verification has been submitted and accepted by CLB so they can move forward with their project. And there was no Planning and Zoning Commission meeting this month.
To wrap things up, I wanted to expand on what Councilmember Kavachi had mentioned about the quick response team in the police department. This is such exciting news that, that we can have this quick response team and this partnership with the health department through the leadership of Chief Ledwell. Our officers and the health department staff are working to treat folks with addictions like they have an addiction, with dignity and in a way that diverts them from the legal process and into recovery, which is, and the statistics are amazing. So I'm going to let the chief talk about that a little bit more, but I so appreciate his leadership on this. It has drummed up such enthusiasm throughout the county. And if you're not in this kind of field, you wouldn't necessarily know about it. So I want to make sure I'm doing my best to champion this and to make sure that you're all aware of all the hard work that's going on behind the scenes at the police department and the health department. And this is all due to the leadership of our very own police chief. So Chief, no further ado, can you further explain this?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I know we've talked about this before, but we've actually had the quick response team up and running now for about a month. It's been exciting to watch them inside the police department. So there's a couple of things. Number one, I think that to truly tackle an epidemic like the opioid crisis, it takes multiple initiatives. It's not just a police issue. It's not just a public health issue. It's a collaborative initiative. And if you think about the various ways to address it, you start with your education prevention at younger ages, move into enforcement, and then treatment. So we're trying to tackle it from all sides. So as Councilman Kavachi talked about earlier, we're still aggressively enforcing the drug trafficking laws and going after the dealers and making arrests at the possession level. But we're also looking at it from a stigma, public health, collaborative initiative for a number of reasons. First of all, with some of the reforms in the state of Maryland, when you have somebody awaiting a trial, a pre-trial detention, somebody for a nonviolent offense is typically not going to be housed in detention for that period of time. So what we find is that when we try to address the issue solely through enforcement, it's kind of a revolving door. It tends to take up the criminal justice system. You don't see a lot of punishment. And typically there's going to be some diversion post-trial anyway. Our officers typically deal with certain individuals multiple times a shift. And so trying to look at not just beating our head against the wall, continually doing the same thing over and over again. We've collaborated with the health department on a number of initiatives, from naloxone kit leave behind, fentanyl test strip leave behind, the law enforcement assisted diversion program, which has been up and running for several years now and has been very successful. And then now this quick response team initiative. So both the law enforcement assisted diversion and our quick response team are co-housed in one of our office space at the police department. And they've become a go-to tool for our sworn staff when dealing with individuals with substance use disorder. So we now have a case manager and 2 peers in recovery on the quick response team. They're able to go out real time when we have an overdose. And once the scene is rendered safe and the police do their thing, we hand the ball off to the quick response team. And they can really dedicate a sustained effort, which is what it takes to try to affect change. So, right off the bat, just a few statistics to throw out. At the time that we put together this report was a few days ago, we had 13 individuals that we were called out on. And of those, 12 we successfully had an initial interaction with. We currently have 7 individuals that are actively engaging with the team. We've successfully gotten 6 individuals into long-term drug rehabilitation programs. We had an individual who overdosed twice in one day last week. And that's the type of individual that we sometimes see, unfortunately, with a fatal overdose when you see that repeated overdoses. We were successful in getting that individual into long-term drug rehabilitation facility. And this past Wednesday, we had 3 individuals who contacted us and then showed up at the police department asking for help. So they'd gotten the word that we had the team working there. And the following day, our team went to work. They made the arrangements with the different drug rehabs. And the following day, we were able to get 2 of the individuals into a Mountain Manor rehab in Sykesville and 1 into a Mountain Manor long-term drug rehab in Rockville. So just in a couple of weeks, I think it's already starting to pay dividends. It's all grant funded. It's a tool that I think is very beneficial to our officers. And it's been nice also to watch the excitement with our health department partners and other departments, the state's attorney's office, who are really putting a lot of effort and initiative. It's not solely a police department to make this work, but I think has been very successful in the early stages.
And while the chief certainly has been the leader in this, if the city if our council had not approved the agreement with the health department to authorize those caseworkers in-house, this never would have happened. So you are also partners with us on this, and it's just as important for step 2 was your support for that. So thank you so much.
Mr. President, can I ask Chief a question? Chief, with the 3 individuals that came on their own volition seeking help in 1 week, prior to this team existing, how often did people show up at the police department asking to be helped with their drug addiction problems?
Since I've been there, I've seen 1 person.
The 1 in 5 years versus 3 in 1 week. That's pretty amazing.
Word of mouth.
Mr. Governor. Chief, I wanna congratulate you. You have been an amazing addition to the city of Westminster, and the initiatives that you brought forth to us have been absolutely amazing. On top of that, and to have the data that you have to share with us and the community and any other community out there, it just shows the collaboration with our health department, with you guys. I mean, Westminster and Carroll County do a great job with collaboration as it is, but this is just, to me, monumental. That many people at that moment is seeking help and getting help and literally changing those lives. It's just an amazing effort. And not only that, but you guys go out and do community work, National Night Out. I mean, there's a lot of places that do that, but we have 5, 6 communities in Westminster that participate. You work with Shop with the Cops and bicycle events and all kinds of, I had a community update of about 10 different events you guys participate in and go into our neighborhoods and work with our kids.
a lot of communities do not do that, and that's what makes Westminster different. So thank you.
You know, when we spoke with the chief about, about this position, this was the vision that he laid out for the department that night. So thank you, chief, for, for working to implement that.
Appreciate it. And we had our body worn camera training today. We've gotten 9 of the 13 cameras in, so they're up and running. And then we have the transport van outfitted with 3 cameras in the transport van. And I think we're going to have some good news regarding a 3rd grant to fund the rest of the program.
Grants are always good news, chief.
Like, see other people's money.
That would be,
That's all I have.
That concludes the departmental reports, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
let's catch up on the fire.
Sure.
For June, we had a total of 484 EMS calls. Fire calls were 98. In the city, where there were 324 calls. Outside the city, there were 207. Overlapping calls were 51%. And that's for the month of June. Let's catch up to the month of July. There were 515 EMS calls. Fire calls were 170. 375 of the calls were in the city. 252 were just outside of the city. Overlapping calls have spiked to 61%, 61% of the calls. 61% of the time when we get called, we have to bring in mutual aid, someone from, we have to bring a unit in from another municipality to handle that call. The program that we're discussing, the rapid response program, this has been already a big help with the fire department, because before this program got started, we would see the same individual over and over. Very taxing, it's very expensive. And it's also disheartening to see an individual in distress, a medical distress, and having this program available has been a huge help. So I want to thank everybody involved. That's my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Final item on our agenda is citizen comment, when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issue that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issue. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite them to send us comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. Commenters should include their address and phone number with their comment. We'll now invite comments from anyone who's present this evening. It doesn't appear that anybody is still present. If anybody has any comments, we certainly welcome them. Thank you. So that's it. That concludes our agenda and the meeting. And our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, September 12th. And without objection, we are adjourned.
Brown, so that's 96.
It just happened.